It's the Locked On Flyers podcast for Wednesday, August 28th, your daily dose of Flyers news, analysis, and high quality content that is wondering if there's any more ways the Flyers can honor people in this new era of orange.
I think there are.
You're Locked On Flyers, your daily podcast on the Philadelphia Flyers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Hey there, and thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen every day. I am Rachel Donner. You can find me on Twitter at rmiriam. I'm here, as always, with Russ Cohen, who's on all your favorite social media apps at Sportsology. We are at Locked On Flyers on Instagram, Threads, Blue Sky, and Twitter as well. Today's episode is brought to you by Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game time. Subscribe or follow us for free over on YouTube. We are on the SiriusXM app or anywhere you listen to podcasts. You'll get our latest episode as soon as it's available here on the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Russ, on the Monday show, we introduced our poll for the week about Flyers fans and grudges. And if y'all out there hold a grudge, man, we've gotten some really interesting responses so far
I
to this
bet.
one. So if you have not voted in it yet, please do so because I want as many of your input as possible. If you've got, more detail about it, put it in the comments. We'll talk about it on the Friday show. In the meantime, the other day, the Windsor Spitfires in the OHL signed Keanu Reeves to a one-day contract. And of course, you're like, why would that happen? Well, it's a promotional thing, right? So he can sign some stuff and they can make an event out of it and it's fun. But he actually did play hockey as a kid. He's from the Toronto area, or at least that's where he grew up. He was not originally
Yeah.
from there, but he was a goalie. He was apparently very good, but he never pursued it. And at one point, there was an invite to a camp of some sorts from the Spitfires. And so they decided to kind of expand on that and have him be part of their promotional stuff for the year. And it was kind of fun, right?
Yeah. Yeah. It was definitely fun, and it's fun to see. I knew he had a hockey background. And I knew goalie, but I wasn't sure what else he did or how
Right.
he did it. So yeah, I thought they did a good job with that. I know a couple. I would say 3-4 months ago, I interviewed Wyatt Russell, who also was a former
Hmm.
goalie, and he went further. And so, like, these guys like having that hockey background, even when you're an actor or something else, and they still think fondly of it and talk about it. And so I bet you that's what Reeves was probably more than happy. He was probably like, yeah, this is cool, let's do it.
Yeah, and especially some of those Canadians. I've been to many a celebrity charity hockey game, and
Yeah,
even like I've seen Alan Thicke play hockey back in the in the day, and
I did
um,
too. I saw him play back in the day, and he was pretty good.
yeah, like some of these guys are pretty good. So I can't even imagine what the beer league hockey is like in LA with some of the celebrities that get involved. I know Steve Carell is a goalie as well, but
Here's an interesting fact, and I
yeah.
did not know this, and a lot of times I'm amazed. Where do you think Keanu Reeves was born?
Oh, it's somewhere interesting that I'm not remembering off the top of my head, but it's he I think he grew up in the Toronto area, but that's not where he's from.
Right, Beirut, Lebanon.
Oh, yeah.
I would never have guessed that. Yeah, yeah. I mean, clearly there's a Canadian background here, but that's interesting. I had no idea.
Yeah. So, given that, we thought, well, how have the Flyers utilized the one-day contract and built it into their promotions and but also, with the new era of orange that they've done, they've wanted to pay more attention to the team's history and utilizing that and pay homage to players of the past in a more effective way. And I think honestly, that's what led in large part to them doing a one-day contract for Wayne Simmonds so he could
Yeah.
retire as a Flyer, right?
Yep. It definitely led to it. We were there. It was fun. Simmons had fun. His family was there. That's a lot of time. done because the family's there and the kids didn't get to see him play, so they get to see that. That was
Yeah.
nice, and that was the whole event was great.
Yeah, it really was, and I know that the Flyers have also done the one-day contract, like, in a not official capacity,
Yes,
for kids, for, like,
for kids.
Make-A-Wish and
Yes.
things like that, and, when they do that, it's so much fun, and
Yeah,
they
it's
get the
nice.
kids out on the ice during practices
Yep.
and, in the media booth and, in the locker room. It's just a really great day for these kids.
It is. It is a great day for them. We enjoy it to cover, and so that's fun. So yeah, why not extend that? Let's keep it rolling.
Yeah, exactly. So I guess there's like two categories of one-day contracts we're talking about here. There's the more serious one, like and I say serious is relative, right?
Yes.
But the Wayne Simmonds contract was so he could retire a Philadelphia Flyer. There's an emotional connection to him as a player. He
Right.
does Sin City, like you were talking about.
He actually
So
did
that's like
play for the team. Yes.
yes. Yeah, so as far as that goes, I was trying to think if there was any other players that the team would do that for, but unfortunately, there haven't been a ton of long-term Flyers that have
Right.
gone elsewhere and that you would want or they would wanna come back, or you feel like this is their home base, so to speak, to retire. I think the last person that maybe would have wanted to do it, but again, there was such a split in their career, before Wayne Simmonds would have been Scott Hartnell, but he just came back and started broadcasting, so they didn't really
Yeah.
need to do that for him.
Yeah. Or I have a better one. I think like Simone Gagne. He would have
Mm.
been good for that. That just never
Y
happened.
I know, and, like, I wonder for Simon Gagne,
I mean,
is the
he was
Flyers
drafted. He was a Philly
yeah,
guy, and then he played for a few other places. Then he came back to Philly, right? So you
mhm,
would think he'd be the perfect candidate back in the
right,
day.
but I don't think they ever did that for him and for
I don't think so.
retirement, did they?
I
I
don't
think
think
he's
so.
in the Flyers Hall of Fame, right? Or he should be if he's
He
not.
should be. I think that's the answer.
Yeah, yeah, we have talked about that in on the show before, and maybe I'm thinking about us talking about him,
Yeah, that's what it
being
is.
in it and, that he's not yet, but he should be soon. But
Yeah,
that's
there's
kinda
no
how they're
question.
gonna honor him, and then with Jake Voracek, they couldn't really do that for him, I don't
Oh,
think,
he was
because he was
inducted in 2021, Gagne.
oh, Gagne was?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
that
that's
was
like
I had to think about that too,
yeah,
Oh,
I
wait,
don't know though.
hold on, is the Flyers Alumni Hall of Fame different than the
That's different.
so that's different. So that's where the confusion is. He's in the Flyers Alumni Hall of Fame.
Oh, okay. Got
Okay.
it. Yeah, he's not in the
That's
Flyers Hall of
that's why
Fame.
there's a fuzziness there because it's Flyers related. All right, I get it now.
So, yeah, there's that, and then, I think that with Jake Voracek, he was under contract technically with the Yotes in 23, 24.
Yes.
So I don't know that they could have done that
No.
technically, for him, but he's a guy that they probably could have or should have done it
Yeah.
for, right?
Yeah. And then now he's sort of like unofficially back, so it's like they're not going to do it now. So
Yeah, I think so. But I think they'll have a day to honor him for sure. I think he's a Flyers Hall of
yeah,
Fame
yeah.
guy in the future.
They just have to make
But
sure Cookie Monster's there that day. That would be a good idea.
oh my god. And I love Jake Voracek so much. Anyway, um, a player that I think if the circumstances allow for it in the future, given the fact that A, he's probably gonna be in the or not probably, definitely will be in the Flyers Hall of Fame in the future, potentially having his jersey retired, Claude Giroux.
Yeah,
Like, if there's a one-day contract so he could retire a Flyer, do you think he would do it, and do you think the team would do it?
I think both would do it. Yes.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think
it's a
so too.
no-brainer.
Yeah, so I other than that though, like, there's nobody that's either close to retirement or
Yeah, because some just didn't play long enough for the team.
right.
So, yeah, I can't think of anybody else top of my head.
No, I don't think there's anybody else that this would come up. So they'll have to come up with other ways to honor some people that are maybe close to retirement who played for the organization. But that's kind of it for the quote unquote serious 1 day contracts, right?
Yeah. Yeah, that's it.
All right. Well, we're going to have a little fun in the next segment talking about a Keanu Reeves like 1 day contract that the Flyers could potentially do, some celebrities with some hockey and or Philly connections that they could do for promotional purposes. These ideas are free, Philadelphia Flyers. So we will get to them coming up next. Some of the best concerts of the year take place in the summer leading into the fall. It's my favorite time to be a music fan. And Game Time has a new feature called Game Time Picks that makes getting tickets to your favorite live events even easier. Game Time Picks filters out the fluff to show you only incredible deals on great seats so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. My favorite part of the Game Time app is that it's great for getting notified about last minute flash deals and super deals so you know you're getting the best bang for your buck. Best of all, they have all in pricing, so there's no surprise fees at checkout when you activate that feature. Also, your tickets are sent directly to your phone so you never have to dig through email. Download the Game Time app, create an account, and use the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, create an account and redeem the code LOCKEDONNHL for $20 off. Download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time. Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen of the day. For your second listen, enjoy Locked On NHL. Locked On NHL provides you with a national perspective on all things NHL each and every day, with national experts and local insight on every team in the league. You can find me there each and every Friday. It's available on YouTube or wherever you get your podcasts, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Coming up on our Friday show, in addition to the poll results we talked about earlier, it is Labor Day weekend in the United States coming up. So we're going to talk about labor and the collective bargaining agreement in the NHL and what it kind of looks like now in terms of the negotiating points could be on the table for the next round of negotiations. So that should be a really interesting one. And of course, how it affects the Flyers or could affect the Flyers in the future. Getting back to our 1 day contract conversation, I think for me, if you're going to pick any celebrity to get a 1 day contract with the Philadelphia Flyers for fun and promotion, David Boreanaz has to be atop that list. Number one, he actually plays hockey. And again, for like high-end beer league, he's pretty good.
No, he is. I've covered an event he's at. He's
Yeah.
actually very good.
He's from Philadelphia. I mean, he's originally from Buffalo, but we're not going to talk about that. But
Well, I mean,
of
his
course,
dad moved around, right, because of his
yes,
job being a weatherman. So
right.
that's fair. It's not his fault.
Yeah, of course, Dave Roberts, his dad was a broadcaster in Philadelphia for a very long time, grew up mostly in the Philadelphia area. He's been on TV regularly since 1993, which is wild. Between Buffy the Vampire Slayer, Angel, Bones, and now SEAL Team, he's just been on as a series regular for
He's a good
that
guy.
many years.
He's a good fan. I've spoken with him, hung out in the press box. We talked about the team. He's knowledgeable. He knows the sport.
He absolutely does. And I went to a panel of his, I think it was when SEAL Team was just starting. So this was like a big promotional panel for the show at New York Comic Con. And there was audience questions. So I got up there and I asked him about the Flyers and hockey. And I think everybody in the room was really mad at me for asking a sports question.
That's great.
At, like a nerd convention. But, you know, I know what I know. And I know what he likes to talk about. And I think he appreciated it. But, you know, he has actually done voiceover work for the team as well. He's been the voiceover in some of their like hype videos that they've done. So I think that, you know, there's a very strong connection here, and I would love to see them give him a 1 day contract.
Totally deserving. He would love it. Fans would love it. It'd be great.
Yeah, I think so. Oh, and he also has like on Bones, especially his character was a Flyers fan, and they always had like Flyers memorabilia on the wall,
Right.
like it's
Yeah,
the
yeah,
Bobby
yeah.
Clark jersey and all of that. So he sneaks his Flyers fandom. He wore a Flyers sweatshirt on SEAL Team once, actually. His character, so he sneaks his Flyers
My
fandom
only question
into
is, what is
shows.
the age cutoff to be a SEAL team guy? Because I believe he's over that.
Well, it's the last season of the show coming up,
Uh-huh,
so
uh-huh.
um, we've gotten there. But yeah, I think next on my list would be the Adam Goldberg of the
Mhm.
Goldbergs. Sitcom set in the '80s in Philadelphia. The Flyers, huge presence on that show. Characters wearing Flyers jerseys, posters on
Yeah,
the
I like the
wall.
show. I watched it strong for about 4 seasons. I've had contact with many of the cast members, including him on Twitter. Just good people on that show, and yeah, good stuff. He's a good guy.
Yeah, and so like, who would be top of your list?
Yeah, um I think I would go Boreanaz 1. I think I would go Trey Anastasia 2, the
Mm,
guitarist for Fish, because he's a
yeah,
huge fan. We were all waiting to get into the I guess this was in 2010. The Flyers won the Prince of Wales, right? And so they actually had the trophy in the locker room, and he was waiting with us online, and we were chatting with him. He brought his dad. He took a picture with himself and his dad in front of the Prince of Wales trophy. Like he was so, geeked up as a fan. It was great. So, that really spoke to me. It was like, yeah, this guy's a real fan. He's from a big band, very down to earth. His dad was clearly a huge Flyers fan. So, yeah, he'd be the next one on my list.
and then I think Rob McElhenney is
Yes.
probably next on our list. Of course, from It's Always Sunny in Philadelphia. From Philadelphia, huge connection to the city, and of course, famously set his show that kind of put him in the star category in the city.
Yeah.
And he's just like such a great
And
ambassador
he
for
filmed in the
Philadelphia.
building before I was covering before the
Hmm.
game started. I was watching that, and on Wrexham, he talks about all his Philly team fandom. They seem to only show him at Eagles games though, for whatever reason, but
I
he goes
know
to Flyers games.
he is more connected to like the Eagles and the Phillies, I would say.
Mhm.
But and I guess the Union a little bit more now since of the soccer
But he's a
connection
Philly
there.
guy. He has done
Yeah.
work with, in Philly at the rink, so have him out there. People would love it. He'd love it.
Yeah, I think so too. I think, Caitlin could join him
Mhm.
also on the show, and his wife, maybe give her the contract too. I think that would be a lot of fun. I think, the other person on the list, I think there's a little bit of a twist here, but I would say Dr. Jill Biden would be
Yes.
the one. Of the Bidens, absolutely Jill is the one. She is the true sports fan in that
Yeah, she's a
family.
massive fan, and Joe has said
Yeah,
that. Like, he said, "Listen, I
yeah,
watch hockey because of Jill. She's a big Flyers fan, and now so am I."
yeah,
Like, the president has talked about that. So, yeah, it would be great. It's perfect. Have her in
yeah.
there. She's a real fan. It'd be like a real fun night.
Yeah, and, they'll have a little time on their hands after
They will.
January, so maybe invite them into the building and, have something to honor Jill and her fandom and,
Yeah,
spreading the love that is Philadelphia sports to everyone.
I love it.
Anybody else on your list?
I'm trying to oh, yes. So, Larry Fine from the Three Stooges. You'd
Mm,
have to have someone from his family do it.
posthumously, yes.
Yep. Posthumously, right? Or however you say that. Posthumously, I guess that is right. Yes. Have somebody from his family there. He used to have a restaurant in Philly. He's from Philly. The Three Stooges, obviously, they're legendary. And I'm sure his family would appreciate that. And yeah, it would just be fun. You'd show Three Stooges stuff up on the board. Like who would want to see that? They could put a picture of a jersey on him, that would be easy to do and show it on the board. It'd be great. Like I was a huge Three Stooges fan, and when I found out that Larry was from Philly, I went and saw that restaurant, like because I knew I'd walked by it before. It's no longer in business, but yeah, it was cool. They had all his stuff up there, as pictures and such. So he used to eat there, and made some money from there, hopefully. But yes, a big name from the past.
Well, I'm sure, they could rope, Gritty into doing some Three
Gritty has to
Stooges
earn it.
liked
He hasn't earned it.
activity. I'm just saying they could
Oh, I
have
thought you were talking about the
Gritty.
contract. I wouldn't give it to Gritty.
No. I'm saying he would be into the Three Stooges theme from
Absolutely. He could really
a
pull it off. Yes.
comedy perspective there.
Yep. That'd be good.
So, yeah, I think that would be a lot of fun. All right, we have some mailbag questions from y'all, and we will get to them coming up next. All right, digging into our Locked On Flyers mailbag, Brandon wants to know, how long do you think before they trust Nick Seeler with a Mark Stahl, Eric Johnson veteran role? He's not young and he's locked up for a few years, but he plays the right way.
Yeah. I think by next year, like, he's just blocking so many shots a year that it's eventually going to wear him down. And you hope that the Flyers' young D is still around, like Ronnie Addard and such. We talked about at Jennings, and if those guys start coming up, then he could start being that guy. And I don't think he's too far away from it, to be honest.
Right. And, Eric Johnson is there for one more year,
Right.
ostensibly. So Nick Seeler could start being that guy now, even to
Just about,
a
but not with
large.
Johnson there. That's why I say next year.
Right. Yeah. Yeah. I think they're going to set him up for that,
Yeah.
unless something crazy happens. But I do think that he is a good role model in terms
He
of,
is. No, he's a good guy. He does
yeah.
play the right way. He's their best shot blocker. The coach loves him, so apparently he's great in the room. So yeah, I mean, perfect for that.
Yeah. And I like that he does play physical, but I don't think he goes overboard with it. I think
No,
he's
he doesn't
toned
fight all the
that
time
down.
because I think he does
Yeah.
realize if defenseman's in the box for 5 minutes, that's a real detriment. So he doesn't do it too often. I agree. The aggression's there, but he doesn't go overboard.
Yeah, I think so. All right. Ryan commented on YouTube. Greer signed 2 players this spring and summer. Are they going to be depth pieces covering for injuries, or will they be getting a fair shot at making the team in training camp? And of course, that's referring to Oscar Eklund and Rodrigo Abels.
Yeah, like I said, I think Abel's may be able to play that bumper role. Will he get the chance? Probably not. But knowing what that power play has not done, I know there's people that think, oh, look, Drysdale's healthy and Mitchkov's there, so the power play is going to be great. We don't know that. We don't know that at all. You could still screw up a power play with great players. We've all seen it. Everybody,
Yes, we have.
any fan of any hockey team has complained about
Yeah.
their power play with great players on it. That is a constant that has happened to everybody at some point in their hockey fandom.
Right. I mean, Exhibit A is this past year from the Pittsburgh Penguins, right?
Right. Yeah, I mean, the Bruins that time in the playoffs, they were awful on the power play, and they had
Ugh,
great players, and they still won a
yeah.
Stanley Cup.
Yeah, and I think, your point about Abels, I think that when you're asking a fair shot, it's not going to be fair, but it'll be a shot, right?
Correct.
Because I think they're going to keep him around until the last possible second as a motivational tactic for
Yeah.
everybody else, and they'll cut him at the very last possible moment. That is my prediction about how that is going to go. Presuming Abels is healthy and plays at a decent level, I think he's going to stick around just to help be motivation for some of the other guys. Matthew wants to know, what does Noah Cates need to do to have a successful season? Is there room for him in the plans for the future for the Flyers?
Yeah, he could be on my team anytime because he could play center or wing. He's already very good defensively, and he does play the right way as well. Now, his injuries hurt him last year, but also the coach seemed to be frustrated with him because he didn't seem to have the offense last year that he had the year before. But I got to tell you, I mean, I think he reached his zenith at like 38 points. 38, 40 points that's what Noah Cates is. You can go back. I've watched him, since the USHL days. I remember writing about him when he was in the USHL. Like, this is what he is. So you can't expect him. And I don't, I think because Tortorella put him in that center role and he was clicking there for a while that he thought bigger things were coming. And I think he's turned into a nice
Yeah.
player, but there is a limitation. So I think we have to recognize that.
Right. And I think that if you look at his season prior, where he scored a lot more points on the board. Again, he wasn't injured. So if you look at the per game output, it's a little different.
Yeah,
And then also, I think, the team was more lousy 2 years ago than it
yes,
was this past year.
more touches
And so,
available for him and things
yeah,
like that. Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's a big part of it as well. But I do think, regardless, he'll get a qualifying offer at the end of this season
Oh
because they
yeah,
want to
you don't
maintain.
just let him walk.
No, no. But I think that this is going to be a really important year for him in terms of, putting up a little bit more numbers wise and earning that ice time. And I think he is one of those guys that's going to have to earn it over
Yes.
some of the other guys where he's going to have to work a lot harder to get it in this tort system. My only like nervousness around him is I don't want him jerked around in terms of are you a wing? Are you a center? Like
Right. No, I
I
mean, he's just playing the
understand he
wing at
could,
this point. Right.
yeah.
That's
Like
it.
I understand he can do both, but I would prefer Scott Lawton get jerked around in that way over
Correct.
Noah Cates
Yeah.
if you're gonna
No,
do
I
that,
agree.
right?
I think that's right.
So, so I think that's really the most important thing for me to give Noah Cates the best opportunity because I think Noah Cates could be Scott Lawton when Scott Lawton is no longer around. They just
Yeah, I
have to
think
give him,
he's pretty close
you know,
already.
yeah. So they just have to give him the right kind of ice time in order to do it.
Yep.
But that is my take on Mr. Noah Cates. Morgan wants to know, looking ahead to next off season, what kind of contract does Tyson Foerster warrant?
I mean, is this Morgan Frost asking about what we think Tyson Foerster should make? I mean, it could be.
Could be. I hadn't thought about that.
I would say this: if he gets 25 goals, I would lock him up to the 6.5 million range for 8 years. I just try and get him locked up because I think he's capable of 25 to 34 goals on most years, and I think he could be a top power play performer. And he is a bigger guy, so he does get some important 5-on-5 goals too. So now, do I want to go deeper than that, like 7.5? I have to think about it. It really depends on what this year looks like.
Yeah, the numbers this year are going to be a huge determining factor because right now we only have one NHL season of data,
Correct.
and to sign a guy for that much money, and depending on what the term is, are they going to go bridge deal with him or not? I think that
I think a
you
bridge is
know,
dangerous with him because the
mhm,
problem with him is because he's a goal scorer. If he scores 35 goals while he's on a bridge, you're screwed.
yeah, yeah, I think so, but I think they need 2 years of NHL data in order
Yes.
to figure out what that value is,
Yeah, I
what
think so.
the AAV is gonna be on a guy like him, and they're gonna have to compare him to everybody else in the system and say, "Do we wanna, pay up now, or do we wanna see what else is out there?" I can't imagine them wanting to do that. They really like Tyson Foerster, and the way that John Tortorella talks about him is so incredibly
Yeah.
positive.
Well, I can give you a scenario. Like if he's off to a hot start and let's say he's got 15 goals quickly and all of a sudden they're talking about him for the Four Nations and things like that, then yeah, you got to lock him
Mhm.
in.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that is exactly what it will turn out to be. But man, Tyson Forster, this upcoming season, he's going to be one of the guys I'm most excited to see
Oh
play
yeah,
because
absolutely.
again, like with only one full NHL season, to his name, like this is a really tough time for a lot of players, right?
It is.
Where okay, now that you're settled in the NHL, and you have to continue to show your worth. Some players really meet the challenge head on, and some guys like can't figure it out. But I really feel like he's a guy that has it figured out,
Yeah.
and I think he's just got to keep his head down and do the work.
And the cap's going up a lot next year, so there's money to
Well,
spend.
Yeah,
For
and I
most
say
teams. We'll
keep
see
your
with the Flyers, they got some issues, but yeah.
right, and I say keep your head down. Of course, technically, keep his head up because we don't want him to get hurt,
Right.
but, like, you know what I mean in terms of work ethic. But, yeah, Tyson Foerster is like, I haven't really talked a ton about him personally, but he's one of the guys that I'm just really, really excited about and his future with the team.
Yeah, I like his overall play. He improved a lot. Like I said, he's got to work
Mhm.
on his setting his feet up when he's getting the
Yep.
shot, all one motion quick. He doesn't always do that. So we need to see more of that.
Absolutely. All right, that will do it for today's show. Thanks so much for listening. As a reminder, we always want to hear from you. So if you've got mailbag questions you want us to answer, let us know on Twitter at Locked On Flyers. You can email us at lockedonflyers@gmail or comment on our YouTube channel. I'm Rachel. I'm on Twitter at rmiriam. That's RMIRIAM.
I'm Russ. I'm at Sportsology, SPORTSOLOGY.
Thanks for making Locked On Flyers your first listen. Now go check out Locked On NHL, where the season never ends, providing national expertise with a local perspective. You can find Locked On NHL in the show notes with a link, so you don't even need to search. It's part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day. Have a great day, everyone.